I am back. How you guys doing? I missed you guys, okay? Now, let me not waste your time. Let's jump right into it. Show of hands, those who thought that Elbaf would begin with a dramatic knockup stream or some epic entry. Well, guess what? The Straw Hat Pirates have arrived at the heart of Elbaf without any clue how they got there. Could this be intentional on Order's part to keep us guessing, or is there some deeper mystery at play here? The chapter is full of surprises, illusions, and battles, and we're going to break down every detail and theory in this crazy chapter. We kick things off with Nami and Usopp inside a gigantic castle, and let me tell you, this castle is made entirely of oversized Lego-like blocks. This setting feels surreal and immediately throws us into a state of confusion. Nami, usually sharp and calm, is freaking out here. She's darting her eyes out, trying to understand her surroundings. Usopp is just bewildered, and their expression says it all. Where the heck are we? This chaotic atmosphere perfectly captures the essence of Elbaf's mysterious nature. Then we get to the first major clue. She looks down at her outfits and she suddenly realizes that she's dressed up in Viking getup. She gasps and says, "When did I change clothes?" And this is what we were all wondering when they appeared to be in the castle and we didn't realize or see any of them changing into their Elbaf gear. And this actually tells us that the giants have very, very delicate hands, because how can you change Nami without Nami realizing? Of course, I think it's due to the green fairy. Now, this isn't just a minor observation. It is a signal that something is seriously off here. It's almost as if they've been thrust into a dreamlike scenario without her knowledge. Usopp, still trying to figure out or process everything, recalls the last thing he remembers, and that is drinking on the giant ship, and bam, there's our first connection. This ties directly to the green fairy drink we heard about earlier, which is known to cause hallucinations. Is this entire situation a result of their altered perception? The surroundings deepen the sense of confusion, and the castle's hallways, walls, and floors are all built with these oversized toy blocks. It's whimsical, almost childlike, but also unsettling. As Nami and Usopp continue to explore, they encounter their first major obstacle, a giant porcupine. Yes, a towering porcupine stands in front of Nami, blocking her path. Her reaction is immediate and hilarious. She freezes in place, her eyes wide with shock, and screams, "It is huge!" That's what she said. But wait, let's think about this. Is this porcupine actually a real threat brought on by the green fairy? Hearing Usopp's voice, Nami makes a run for it and finds him logged in a stare down with a crowned cat. Yes, a cat wearing a crown. This imagery is absurd and feels like something straight out of a twisted fairy tale. Usopp's usual voice of reason is completely lost here. His expression screams, "What is going on here?" This crowned cat and the giant porcupine resemble this chapter's chaotic, dreamlike atmosphere, blurring the lines between reality and illusion. Are these creatures actual beings, or is the Straw Hat crew stuck in some kind of elaborate trick? About what is actually happening, we catch a glimpse of the giants of Elbaf. They mention their great sun god, which sends a ton of red flags. This immediately makes us think back to the Skypiea arc, where Enel declared himself a god and controlled the Skypieans using illusions and fear. Could this sun god be another false deity manipulating not just the giants, but also the Straw Hats? Elbaf's environment itself adds to this suspicion. The entire setting is filled with structures resembling gigantic toys arranged in an almost overly whimsical fashion. This look clashes with the rugged Viking-like image we've associated with Elbaf. Now, could this toy-like appearance be a facade designed to hide the island's true nature? The chapter seems to hint at that possibly. Everything feels too perfectly crafted. The oversized blocks, the fairy tale-like creatures, suggesting some external force might be controlling reality here. Could it be the work of the sun god? Possibly a trickster figure akin to Loki on Elbaf from the Norse mythology. The giants' dialogue about the sun god heightens the intrigue. They speak of this deity with reverence, almost as if they're under a spell or some form of manipulation. If this sun god resembles Enel, we might be looking at an elaborate ruse aimed at controlling both the giants and any outsider. The imagery and dialogue plant seeds of doubt, making us question whether we're seeing the real Elbaf or a crafted illusion. As Nami and Usopp continue their journey through the castle, things only get stranger. After the encounter with the giant porcupine, Nami finds Usopp facing off against a crowned giant. This sight is nothing short of bizarre. A cat wearing a crown inside a castle of toy blocks? It's as if the crew has been thrown into a distorted fairy tale. Usopp's stunned silence speaks volumes. He's just as lost as Nami in this surreal environment. These creatures with their exaggerated forms cranks up the chapter's hallucinatory vibe. They shift between being comically absurd and genuinely intimidating. This fluidity makes us wonder, are they real threats or are Nami and Usopp simply seeing things? Usopp's earlier remarks about drinking on the giant ship becomes even more significant here. If they're under the influence of the Green Fairy, these bizarre encounters could be nothing more than their altered perceptions. The whole chapter seems designed to make us question what is reality in this constantly shifting, ever-confusing environment. Nami's terror and Usopp's shock acts as reflections of our own feelings as readers. They embody our struggle to understand what's happening. The creatures they face, whether it's a giant porcupine or a crowned cat, represents Elbaf's trickery, making us wonder if this entire castle is an illusion created by the sun god or some other force. So the monster trio arrives and Luffy is using Gun elephant gun. Zoro is using his three-sword style black rope dragon, and Sanji says, "For the crimes of making my beloved cry, death." Ifrit Jambe Ipoli. Bro, we have not seen these people use these attacks in years. And this attack knocks out both opponents, both the giant porcupine and the giant cat that turned into a lion. After the attack, we realize that there are a few things that are out of place in this chapter. First thing is Luffy having a Viking hat on. The straw hat is nowhere in sight. This might seem like a small detail, but it's actually massive. Luffy's hat is iconic. It's a symbol of his dream, something he rarely takes off. And its absence here, it suggests that something is wrong, possibly even signaling that the Luffy we're seeing might not be the real one, or he might be under some sort of illusion. When we look at Zoro and Sanji, Zoro's first statement is him looking for the crew. When has Zoro been a person thinking about looking for the crew? We know he's terrible with direction, so it is totally out of place. We also see Luffy have a sword which disappears and later becomes an axe. Like, what is going on in this chapter? Like, this whole chapter is unusual. Sanji, instead of focusing on the surroundings, talks about the nutritional values of the creatures. This out of place comment suggests that their perceptions might be altered. Everything about this scene feels surreal, leaving us to wonder if they're even seeing reality at this point. Or is Oda letting us see these things, kind of showing us that, hey, we're not just facing the regular Straw Hats now. We're going to be battling with our senses as well. That's my take from it. Next, I want to talk about Yggdrasil. The giants in the beginning of the chapter mentioned the fire that was right next to Yggdrasil and their concerns about Yggdrasil being affected by the fire. But then they're also talking about an ear god collapsing, which we later find out in the end of the chapter that it was Luffy and the guys who ate that. They ate the ear god. They just got here. The Straw Hats just got here and they're already causing commotion. They're already causing a commotion. Now let's focus on Usopp. Throughout this chapter, his fear and hesitations are highlighted, reminding us of his ongoing struggle with courage. But there is a sense that this might be leading to something greater. Elbaf has long been hinted as the setting for Usopp's defining moment, a David and Goliath showdown, which we hope to happen. This chapter seems to build upon that, especially with the scene where Nami uses him as a shield, humorously showing that he's still seen as the underdog. Could this be foreshadowing that Usopp's upcoming moment of glory is near? If Loki is the big bad of Elbaf, could Usopp be the one to take him down, embodying the ultimate David versus Goliath fight? The story has continually set up Elbaf as Usopp's arc, where he might finally prove his courage and strength. The illusions and warped perceptions in this chapter could signify that Usopp's growth will not just be physical strength, but mental clarity and resilience. Additionally, Usopp's involvement in the bizarre situations hints at his potential to see through deception, a skill that he's shown glimpses of in previous arcs. The chapter lays down the groundwork for his transformation, suggesting that his true battle might be both against external foes and his internal doubts. This arc could push Usopp to his limit and finally give him that warrior of the sea moment he's been yearning for.